Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have an absolutely fascinating guest to introduce to you now. Anna Rahe spent much of her early life suffering from chronic pain throughout her body that manifested as tension and IBS-like symptoms. Even as a dancer with a range of motion better than most, she still suffered from tightness and pain, with no clear answer as to why or how it could be solved. Anna spent thousands of hours searching every discipline from east to west to find a fix. Every professional she approached said the same thing: it's too complicated. She left their offices with nothing until finally she took healing into her own hands, literally. Anna followed the connections to and from the pain in her body, and through this process discovered fascia, the secret organ that, when damaged, caused many of the body's complications and complaints we suffer from. She mapped her entire body, and it was then that the sun finally rose on the dark night of pain she'd been in for so long. As the founder of GST Body, Anna has worked with celebrities such as Robert Downey Jr., Emmy Rossum, and Sam Esmail, while also being featured in various publications from the Wall Street Journal to Goop. You can find her on her website at www.annarahe.com, and Rahe is spelled R-A-H-E. Anna Rahe, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you to Balanced Body Radio.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I swore to myself I wouldn't use any stupid puns in this episode, and I couldn't even get through the first sentence.
It's just too good. It works with everything. I've used it myself, so it was great.
So embarrassing. The other thing I forgot to clarify before we were having a lovely chat before this episode was the names of the actors that I mentioned. Yeah. I got to tell you, like here in Salt Lake City, I'm kind of like living under a rock. I'm fairly confident that I know how to pronounce Robert Downey Jr. The other two, I don't know if I even nailed them. I don't know who they are.
Oh, that's really funny. Emmy Rossum. I'm trying to think of things that you would know her in. They're just really like amazing people. That's pretty much all I talk about. Usually I don't share a whole lot about. They want you to name drop, and I love that you're not like LA, because that's like so important in LA. And you're like, I just love these people. I don't really want to use them for their celebrity, being an honor to be trusted with them. So they're just, they make some really great stuff.
That's cool. Yeah. What about Sam? Sam Esmail?
Sam's a director, and I think he's done, I should actually probably have these answers better. Like I said, I'm also not a celebrity person. So like in terms of like chasing celebrity. So Sam, is he did something that you're gonna like when you know these people. I'll tell you what he produced.
I recognize the name for sure.
Yeah, Mr. Robot. That's how everybody knows him.
Got it. Very cool.
So, yeah.
So what was it like? What was it like living in Hollywood and kind of like brushing elbows with these people? Excuse me.
You know, I think that there's two answers. One is living in Hollywood is really fun in your 30s when you have the energy to like chase this stuff. When you finally meet people, kind of celebrity disappears. There's like really quality people. And I think that it is true that cream kind of rises to the top when you're really good at your craft and you're really an expert. All the other kind of pretenses fall away. And so you get to really kind of know a person, especially in the work that I do, not just kind of physical training and conditioning them, but like actually working in a healing modality. There's a different kind of exchange, and you get to know just the humanness, and it reveals so much more kind of like brilliance, so much more depth of character. So it's been, that was really fun. It was nice.
That's amazing. It's really cool to make that connection. I can say personally, even with like personal training and nutrition coaching, we talk about this all the time. You spend so much time with these people, and being physical opens up so many emotions. You get to know these people so well. I would just think for some of these celebrities, it would be really tough because they're always getting chased by people that can't really get that openness as much as probably they would want, would be my guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends on personality. Like some people are just really like, okay, this is what I have to suffer to do what I love, right? They have no like attachment to their celebrity. There's other probably people that are like, I'm going to use my celebrity and I know the power that it has. And so I'm going to, magnify it. And then there's other people that I think just like go on with their lives. They're really pretty normal people. And so there's kind of a broad range of what you find. I mean, anywhere, right? Right? Everywhere you go, you find that life is a lot more diverse than what we tend to try to sloganize, or it's a little more complicated.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's really well explained. Offline, as I said, we had a lovely chat. I found out that you're in Boulder now, which is amazing, just over the hill from us here in Utah. You started to move your business online in, I think you said November of 2019. Did you get a fax from Wuhan or something? Like, what was that about?
Oh my gosh, no, I had a studio on Sunset Boulevard for about a decade. And in January of 2019, I got a message, and I kind of knew that I had gotten this spot for rent because they were going to redevelop it. I just didn't know how long I'd have the space. So I knew it was coming. They said to me, we're going to have you move out at the end of this year. They gave me a year notice, which was really nice. And so I got busy trying to be like, what would this business look like? Because so much of it is hands-on, so much of it is in tissue. Like, I think there was a little bit of an anxiety of like, can this translate into an online forum and can be accessible? And it's, there's a slight learning curve uphill because it's so different. Fascia asks such different things of the body. So there's a slight learning curve for most people to kind of be like, oh, that makes sense, but I have never been told that. And so I was worried about it. And by November, we had produced all of my equipment, manufactured it in 9 months, which was really big. And then we rebranded. And then I literally closed my doors on November 17th. We launched on December 17th. And by January 17th, it was like, wait, I'm not really sure that we're going to be, running businesses globally. So anyway, it was just kind of like this amazing cosmic intervention almost. And the timing was impeccable.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, we were kind of talking offline about, the pandemic and how, it was a horrible tragedy and lots of bad things happened, but also there was a lot of opportunity. And we were both working for a big corporate gym, one that's really close to where you are, and we were unemployed. And so we didn't know what we were going to do. And part of what we decided to do, since we didn't think we were going to go back to that gym, was start our own business. And so we started Boundless Body in July of 2020. And as part of that, we built out our basement to be a Pilates studio and a studio where my wife works. She also works with fascia and does fascial releases. And it's cool to have your own space because you choose everything that goes in there. And there are 8 things on the walls downstairs. So I want you to tell me why you think these 8 things would be important. 7 of the things that are down there are Tom Meyer's anatomy lines, and anatomy trains. And
are you talking about are you talking things on the wall, not equipment? You're talking like posters?
Yeah, like big posters.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. I see your decorative art. I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So we got 7 big posters of all the deep lines of fascia in the body. And the 8th one is an emotion wheel where people can identify how they're feeling. Why do you think those 8 things are down there?
Probably because it's the full spectrum of the human experience through body to brain to consciousness. And the unifying factor is actually fascia.
I love that. Tell us all about fascia.
Okay. I'm going to try to tell you some things maybe you don't know, because it sounds like you guys already are tapped into it, which is really exciting because it's a very new and kind of innovative frontier, especially for people in movement. Fascia is a body connective tissue. There's still a lot of way to go in terms of agreement on definitions and what kind of tissues are categorized under it. I like to talk about it from a more relatable standpoint instead of fabric. So fascia is kind of like describing fabric, and you have cotton fabric and lycra fabric. And so the body has different types of fabric that serve different functions. Like linen is the myofascia, which is sturdy and kind of dense. And then you have viscera, which is kind of more like silk or sateen, and it's softer and more dainty, and it's the fascia of your organs. And so fascia is like this connective tissue that makes up the fabric and holds your body together. It gives it shape. But I think one of its most significant roles is as an entire connective tissue system, a body system, which similar to your digestive system that comes with organs like the liver, the kidneys, the intestines, the colon. Fascia, the connective tissue system, comes with its own organs, the way that fascia organizes in the body, but they're not massed organs like a heart or lungs. And so for all of this time in anatomy, it's kind of been overlooked because fascia looks like, if you were to kind of peer on the inside, like kind of a wet gel-like spider web, or like a kitten went crazy with yarn all over inside of you. And it's in corners, and it's kind of hard to identify. It looks very messy. And I think that for years, it was just cut away in anatomical dissection and in the medical field as like superfluous tissue that's get to the big organs. But when you start learning about how fascia organizes in layers and the metamorphosis of its shape, kind of like sedimentary rock, you start to see that fascia becomes a much bigger system with much more significance. And one of the greatest significance is how it unifies all other body systems. You have 3 primary networks, which are qualified as being extensive into every other region of the body. So you have your neural net, which is your nervous system. You have your circulatory net, which is vascular and lymph. And then you have your fibrous net, or your fascia, or the connective tissue system. And they are much more extensive than like your digestive system, your endocrine system, you're right, because they actually are these integrative body systems that serve multiple functions on every single level. So we've been missing almost a third of the important thing about body care and health and wellness. Now, why it's interesting to people like you and I think more, is that for the pioneers in this were like osteopaths, Andrew Tiller Still and Ida Rolf, and they were manual therapists that would actually go in and do more fascial manipulation through massage. And there's some really great work out there, but what I realized in my journey of healing is that manual therapy comes up really short. And it comes up short in a very significant way because the way fascial tissue works is that it's extremely dense and it's extremely hard to change. And you can remodel it, you can influence it, but it has to have high voltage force running through it. And there is no other type of accessibility to like high power force like motion. And so motion all of a sudden becomes both the greatest conditioner of our tissue, what condition and state it's in, and it also becomes the way in which we can actually alter the way our bodies are functioning. So think about the way that a wave hits the shoreline and contours it and changes its topography and hits rock, and after repetitive use, it will actually change the structure of the shoreline. That's kind of how fascia remodels and works in the body to heal. When you look at it from not just like, what condition is my fascia? And a lot of times in fitness, we look at it as like, am I hydrated? Am I, smooth? Are my fibers individuated? But I came from a little bit of an even deeper, like, I want a different body. I need to have something that would be like cellularly, non-genetically predisposed, because the things that I started learning is that my body's got some really stuff, like really bad stuff. And it wasn't enough to just go in and try to massage it out. It never lasted. It would always come back. I would go and do my dance performances and have flare-ups. I'd go running, I'd have flare-ups, and I'd roll out for hours at a time, and it would always come back. And so I was looking at it as I need some serious remodeling, not just paint on the wall, but tear this wall down, put up new studs, hang new drywall, and now make it, be able to be functional. So that was a long story kind of where what fascia excites me, because fitness then becomes this medium that has not previously been used for influencing health this way, right? It's always cardiovascular health, toning your muscles, getting strong, making sure that the myofascia is, has the right tone, it doesn't have adhesions. But there's an even deeper science, which is really fun, because that's what started healing autoimmune, symptoms for me. And that's what actually went in and started changing digestive systems, brain cognitive health and function, depression. So I started seeing that these other things made fitness, or the movement of fitness, even more deeply transformative.
Yeah, that is so interesting and so well explained. For the listener, I've never seen this before. I think Zoom censored your fuck bomb.
Did it? Okay, good.
I've never seen that.
I never know if I can actually drop bombs on podcasts, and I'm
well,
I'm a healthy cursor, and
I'm the host, and I can do whatever I want, and I'm not going through Zoom. I'm going directly into the mixer. So I'll cover you on.
Thank you. You just drop it. It'll be like a subtitle,
yeah, totally.
Anna goes silent and you drop the bomb.
Totally.
Thanks.
That was hilarious. Yeah, thanks, Zoom. So, okay, the perfect segue then. Let's talk about a little bit deeper into your personal story, because you got into a tight spot at a pretty young age. As we said in the introduction, it was very early in your life that you were encountering problems. Can you go a little deeper into your own personal story?
Yeah. I'll try to give you need Cliff Note versions of these people's lives, right? When you end up, I just turned 45, and when you end up 45, it can be a long story. So I'm going to give you the Cliff Note versions that I think are really important highlights. At 18, I had just been certified in my Pilates course, and it is probably still one of the leading certifications in the US for sure, and maybe globally. and they were a great organization. I was dancing at the University of Utah and was trying to actually get into the university program and wanted to get better techniques in. So I got all this training, and I had this really big summer. I call it my summer of healing, where I had been in therapy for an eating disorder since the age of 14. I had suffered a lot with depression, had been in and out of clinics and treatment centers. And I was dating this woman in San Francisco at the time. And I'm like depressed beyond measure. And I was like, I had this like aha godsend moment that said, okay, you need to go home and you need to figure your life out. You have to figure what the fuck is wrong with you. Did it record?
It didn't censor that one. Nice.
Okay, good.
Filter.
I might have censored myself just to be polite, but thanks for the permission.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So anyway, I called my mom. I pulled off the highway off Octavia Fell Street exit, and I was like, Mom, I have to come home. And so I went home and lived in a mountain cabin right in the deep Rocky Mountains for a month. And I thought in that time was enough time for me to clear my debris, go really deep. I'd already been in therapy, right? Like I knew that I'd been sexually abused with, ritual abuse, and I'd had these like traumas in my past. And I thought I could just go home and like really do it and get done with it. And as you probably know, with bodies and healing, that's never the case. It's not a one-stop shop and then you're done. And why I tell that first as the starting off jumping point to the story is because the pain and the suffering and the body stuff that I had only came after this summer of reconciliation. And I feel like once I got my spirit, head, and the psyche of my brain organized and my neurological system firing, then my body said, okay, she's ready to deal with what the other fucking trauma is in her body and her life. And so I went back to San Francisco. I wanted to be in my relationship and I wanted to So I went back to San Francisco, and in about 2000 is when I started noticing these things creeping up in me. And they would kind of be quite random and quite severe, almost kind of like alarming. So some of my symptoms were, at first I was like, I'm obviously struggle with flexibility, okay? And I couldn't touch my toes some days, and other days I would feel like I could totally touch my toes. Other days I would literally feel like, when you work out too hard and you can't sit down on the toilet and you can't like pull a shirt over your head, I would feel like that having not worked out, having not like lifted anything differently, having not done something strenuous. I would just wake up and feel that way. Night times, I would feel like I had a lava lamp in my stomach that would just like turn. And then I'd have like these IBS symptoms of like pain. And I would go in for, colonoscopies, and I would have like, digestion. And I would rearrange my diet with a dietitian. And I just kept searching and searching. And so one of the scariest things started when my lungs started to create problems. And at 13, I had started to have kind of like athletically induced asthma. And they gave me, an inhaler, like in our medical culture does, is here's a medicine, take it. But no one really looked into maybe what was causing that until I was like, I'd go up and I'd run one day like I was a marathon runner, like through the park, around, everywhere. I'd have like 7.5, 8-minute miles. I was a good runner. Within 24 hours, depending upon, and I know the reason why now, but depending upon placement and tensions of tissue, I would feel like a 10-pack a day smoker. And it was so volatile that I'm like, do I have lung cancer? Do I have this is something really wrong. So I just started going to professionals, and first I did the pretty standard tests and, breathing tests and lung x-rays and MRIs, and nothing would come back that was conclusive, right? I would even go to chiropractors and they're like, well, your leg is measuring at this range. And then they'd crack me and I'd get another 1.5 inches of stretch. And then I was like, well, great. But then tomorrow I can't touch my toes. And I just kind of became dependent on care, which was also one of the frustrating things. I was like, I cannot spend $2,000 a month to have someone try to take care of my body. I'm 18. So I was a Pilates teacher and I knew a lot, and I had taken a certification course where I had been introduced to the concept of fascia. And ironically, it was based kind of more on Rolfing and more of the emotional body stuff, not the mechanical or biomechanics stuff. It was just manual. And I had the 10 series and I studied it for a while, and I did have cathartic releases in my tissues, and but it will always come back. I had prolotherapy. I mean, the endless things that I tried to do to try to figure out. People would call me unstable. And so they give me prototherapy because I was hypermobile. And I'm like, I'm not hypermobile. So everything just was like not making sense to me. So I started off really small in my studio. I called my Pilates mentor one time and I'm like, can you help me? Something is wrong and I don't know what. And I know this now, but she was like, has a bipolar personality disorder. And so she was very cruel and manipulative. And so I just finally was like, no one's going to help me do this. I have to figure it out. I had a Pilates reformer in my studio and I just started like doing things. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I started with this, like, I have to have good form. Maybe my form's not right. Maybe my positions aren't right. And so, but then I started like, I'd go 2 months of like only working on my form. And then I'd feel like I was tightening up and restricting up. And so this whole like journey unfolds of one night I'm lying on a roller on a ball, trying to get my tissue to release. And I can feel release. I feel the melt. I feel the, yawn, whatever you want to call it. And it would give me some reprieve, but it wasn't permanent. Whenever I started moving again, patterns would like lock me right back up like I was in a straitjacket. And I'm like, what is happening? So one night I thought, okay, I have to, like, what if I could actually do what the ball is doing by myself? Like, what if I was non-dependent on that ball pushing into me? So I laid there and I kind of like watched what the ball did. And I'm like, can I do that on purpose? Like, could I make that ball like spread on purpose? And sure enough, I could. It was really small and it was really subtle. But if I like really focus, I could make that, like, it's called the deformation. When we look at biomechanics, fascia behaves more like a fluid than it does a solid. Okay. And so all of our training and our movements and fitness, even our therapies, physical therapies, are based on solid mechanics. This is a lever. This is what it does, muscles, traction. And so you're more like a water bottle or a water balloon when you move than you are these sticks. And so the very simplest explanation of fluid dynamics is a rock in a pond. There's water deformation, first step. It's not just a one thing, it's a 3-step metabolic process. Rock drops in, it's called deformation. The water spreads, it's called displacement. And then the ripples become this sequencing, which becomes the motion of hydraulics. So fascia behaves like this. And so I could feel the roller go into my tissue, then I would feel it spread. And then I'm like, but it stopped spreading right here. Could I make it happen again? Could I make it happen again? And so I started just like randomly trying to create as much motion in this spreading action as I could by choice on command. Then I'm like, could I do it when I'm lifting my leg and dance? Could I do it while I'm running? Could I do it? And all of a sudden I started patterning out this tissue and discovered that fascia actually isn't really a line. It's not really a fascial, I call them currents, because they literally move in these like wave-like patterns when you start doing it. And they organize differently than just only, like, my first book was Anatomy Trains. And I looked at them and I'm like, this is kind of the line I feel, pretty close. But then I'm like, but then it does this thing where it like dives and then it kind of comes back up. And so I started being like, okay, what am I controlling? Where is the control center? And it turns out that fascia has these 2 major pumps. Anyway, so we can go into the anatomy, that it kind of like reveals other mechanical structures that are not just lines, and they're not just laying down of tissue, but the way that the body organizes the fascial organs and how they come together to create motion, not as the generating aspect of tissue, right, as the eliminating. So movement goes from, in our focus on fitness, we usually like, let's tighten, let's mold, let's hold, get stronger, make our bodies more solid, right? Solid core, that's the answer to healing. Everything is like, make something more solid, because your problems are because you're too loose or you're too hypermobile. And it's like, well, actually, I think it's the opposite. That's what I found is that most bodies are hurt because they're too rigid. They're too stuck. There is no, freedom in the movement. And that's kind of what took me on this journey to finding these new ways of moving. And I had to throw out a lot of the principles that I was taught in ballet, dance, in my Pilates training, in my fitness training, in my yoga, in everything I was taught, like even these like very deeply therapeutic models that I studied, there's principles of like connection of the core. Fascia does not want our traditional understanding of core. And so I had to have this like faith that at first I was like, I'm going to hurt myself more. I'm going to hurt myself more. We're not taught to trust our bodies. And when I started being like, I'm just going to lift my ribs, I'm just going to stick my ribs out as far as I can, something would change. And then I would get some opening and my belly would like totally calm down. And I'm like, that's weird. So I would just follow these things of truth and let my body kind of be my divining rod that would tell me these sensitivities. And that's why I love what you said about those 8, like, posters in your basement. Of the connection between them is like the body. Fascia is the brain of your body, right?
Yeah.
And it's this like organ of consciousness. And if you can actually connect them, it has farther reaching like information, intelligence on the emotional level, tapping into your ENS, the enteric nervous system of your gut intuition. And so it basically answered so many of the questions in my own, journey, both from my body healing into my spirit and soul healing.
Wow, that is fascinating. Okay, so I wanted you to give a practical example, excuse me, of
Yeah.
what you mean when you say movement. So like when you said lungs contracting, like your rib cage contracting, is that an example of the kind of movements you were discovering that would create more space through your body?
Yeah. Yes. So I kind of, after 25 years, I would say there's 3, if I had to like lay it out for people, there's 3 things that we're taught chronically, and they're generalizations. I'm not saying that every single person teaches this, but as a cultural whole, almost every discipline in movement teaches a solid core running between the rib cage and the pelvis, making your abdominals, even into the transverse, tight, okay, and holding the rib cage and the pelvis together. That is what is seen as protection for your back, not allowing your body to be loose and potentially injure itself, to be able to have this solid mass of pylon, like it's a different type of strength, right? So that's one of the principles, is solid core. Fascia says, actually, I run underneath the rib cage. I run all the way up into the visceral of the lungs and the pleura. I run underneath. My heart actually isn't just a pumping organ, it's a sucking organ, right? So
Thank you.
Right? It moves in spirals like fascia does. Like fascia is the synchronizer of tissue motility. So fascia is the reason your hearts beat next to your lungs and don't collide and create electro off-put chaos, right? So fascia is busy taking external force and modulating it down, and takes internal low voltage force of the cellular tissue and metabolic activity in the body and modulates it. It's like your power grid. It's like your smart grid. It's like greatest capacity, facilitating motion, yes, facilitating endocrine function, but it like actually is this organizing, this orchestrator of body physiological function, energetics. And so when you lock up your core, you lock up the amplitude and wave frequency of your spine, which shuts down so much of the neurological functioning into your brain. It actually damages your low back and inverses solid core, if you're going to ever put this online. So when you teach solid core, you pull your ribs to your hips and you tighten and you push your back down and you hold this nice and rigid, okay? And what you're doing is you actually push the rib cage behind the pelvis, which inverses the thoracolumbar fascia. The thoracolumbar fascia is meant to actually carry suspension and the rib cage up and off. And when we do solid core, unknowingly, because we usually do it lying on the ground, we don't see it in movement, we start like pushing down into, rather than creating suspension out of the body. We're exaggerating the effects of gravity versus fighting against the effects of gravity. So the thoracolumbar fascia starts to lock down. And what's interesting about the thoracolumbar fascia is that there's a like physiological function, and then there's like a biomechanical function. And the physiological function is that the fibers of the thoracolumbar fascia act like a flow field to the stress hormones that are secreted off of your adrenals that sit right here. And like a flow field, it's supposed to dilute. The chemicals are produced, and then all of the neurotransmitters, the hormones that stress the body out, dilute and get down into the legs, where fascia takes it into motion and metabolizes it, running away from the lion, if that's how you'd like to say it. So when you inverse the flow field, all of a sudden you're pooling all of what should be distributing down, kind of like a rain bead in the rain stick, being able to move down. It locks up and it creates problem incontinence when we get older. It creates low back pain, piriformitis, sciatic problems. It creates, like, from a athletic performance standpoint, it can cut seconds and minutes off of your time on run, right? Like the way that the tissue compacts doesn't have spring and it takes more effort. And anyway, that's a conditioning thing. So there's all these applications of one thing, the solid core messes you up. The other one is tucking your pelvis, making sure your back is flat, taking out the arch. What are you doing? We don't look at the body as intelligent, right? Like we think we know better all the time. It's like a human problem, right? The Mormons, we know best. And so we're like,
Totally.
Look, some divine or some skilled or some evolutional, intelligent design made this really soft and really mobile. Wait, that's wrong. Let's make it really strong and really solid. It's the only place that there's no bones, but let's make it bone-like. And that tucks your pelvis. Now, all of a sudden, you have a bunch of problems happening in the suspensory structures of the pelvis. The other thing is that when you tuck your ribs down, it yokes your entire upper thoracic cavity. And all of a sudden, people don't breathe right. They start breathing into their backs, which is a really big problem for vagal tone, for neurological feed into the brain, for depression. So all of a sudden, these are the three things. Let me review. I got carried away and I know I talk a lot, so I'm going to, back. Three things: solid core, re-examine that in your practice. Your body are more like tubes than sticks. You need to keep your rib cage, which is shaped like a circle, not moving like something that's shaped like a stick. We make our ribs move like the spine. Wrong, wrong. Second one, tucking your pelvis. Do not try to make your back flat and take out your arch. It's too much, and you're really damaging all the other structures that rely on suspension in the body. Third, don't drop your shoulders and pinch them down your back. That's even evolutionarily incorrect, okay? When you were swinging from the trees, your lat, my favorite thing to say is just because it moves like that, doesn't mean it should be used like that. So we look at the lats and we're like, oh, pull them down our back, pull them down our back. And it's like, wait, that's the load that's supposed to eject. The primary action of the lat is to eject force out of the shoulder and the neck shoulder girdle. But we keep pulling our shoulders down our back, and then we're like, hello, herniated cervical spine. Hi, nerve pain going down my arm. Hi, carpal tunnel. And so it's like, just start shrugging, start lifting, start expanding your lungs. And if you just watch, take a deep breath, it naturally creates the helium in your body to create lift. So why are we pulling down against that, right? So these are some of the body wisdoms the three things that I think I had to give myself permission. Like, it's okay to have an arch. It's okay for me to lift my ribs. In fact, I'm stronger when I don't. It's better for my shoulders if I actually let them go up and around and create mobility rather than stability.
Yeah, my biggest problem with you, Anna, is you lack passion and you lack excitement. I just have to tell you, criticism, you need to be excited about this stuff. This is mind-blowing. This is really great information. I think the listener is really going to appreciate it. And for the listener, make sure, in the notes, I'll tag it, but go to the video and make sure you actually watch this, because it's really helpful to see. If you were a little bit confused by what she was saying, she did a really good demonstration. I really appreciated that, Anna. Okay. So my wife last year had the opportunity to do a cadaver class with Tom Myers, actually in your backyard in Boulder.
Yeah.
And she kind of said the same things that you were saying. Like, first of all, she described what you were describing earlier. The different fascia has totally different textures depending on where it is, what it's doing. It can be a little thicker around the muscles, the myofascia. It can be more like kind of sticky, like cobwebs, or it could be like very much like liquid. Yeah, very liquidy. And she said, like, you think that your muscle is moving your bicep. You have so much fewer fibers than you would ever imagine, even with my giant biceps here. Far less. Beautiful. Very damaging to my ego. And to hear that there's less material there than I would thought just really hurts my ego. But it's so interesting that this thing that we like shoved aside that never made it into medical textbooks, like nobody talks about it, yet it's doing almost everything. And I just love the way you think about movement. It's just different than you would hear other people talk about.
Thanks. Yeah, I thank you. I feel like it's so different. And I think I came up with that. Sometimes I struggle because I want to share this with everybody. And, everybody likes to have, I was reading your guys' website and I'm like, they're like 6 different certifications and 17 different things. And I'm like, I basically thought I made this up until I started like looking and like discovering and, connecting to fascia. And so I look at it and I'm like, I think sometimes you can only get this from doing it, right? Like I had to live it. I was like, this is when I do this, this happens. When this is like, it was like this analytical, and I liken it to, even when I work with people, I'm like, your body's kind of like this Rubik's Cube. And it's not just like you do 3 moves and that's right? It's like, first you got to twist it a little bit this way and you get 3 reds. And then you have to go back the other direction. You have to like find this. And it's like this game of how are these supposed to go together and work? And that gives you a different empirical knowledge that is, at least you arrive, not with all the certifications, but you arrive with a different perspective. And hopefully that's kind of what, I would love to be able to just share, is like, just think a little bit differently, because in the long run, your body is an organic carbon machine, right? It's a life form and it's animated, but it's a machine. And I don't know how old you are, but I told you I'm 45, and I'm really starting to see, even in my own body, and I take very good care of it, right? But it's like, you start to not have the things that you just took for granted in your 20s and 30s. And so one of these things that I think about a lot is, how long can I run this machine before it runs out? And what's interesting is that our machine tends to die before we actually go 10 feet under. Our biomechanics erode our body so badly that it actually ripens us to disease. They're finding amazing research on relationship of tumors to fascia, tumor growth, metastasis of cells between fibers. When you really do these, this is why I'm passionate about the biomechanics side, which, okay, it's fitness, but fitness just is what we associate with movement. I want people to think bigger than just fitness or exercise. It's like motion. What are your cells doing? How is your organ of your colon contracting in sync with your esophagus as you're eating, right? What are these things? Trachea, no, esophagus. So when you're doing this, it's like there's this movement and expanding that, because as you age, your body, your fitness can actually become a liability, right? If you keep doing the things that you're doing, thinking you've got nice abs, thinking that you're going to have really nice back, finally at 45, I don't have my cellulite. It's like all of a sudden your priorities change and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to get up and down. I just want to be able to go running and not have my knee click. I just want to, right? Your priorities change. And I feel like one of the revolution of what we can do with fitness is think about sustainability, but it comes down to learning biomechanics. In other words, learn your body, how it should move, rather than learning an exercise. Most of our exercise came from calisthenics, military calisthenics. Okay, not even Olympiad, our history is in with discus throw and all of that, right? But that's not American fitness. American fitness comes from military calisthenic training, and it's very rigid and it's very form and position oriented. And that position means that you're kind of grinding on, it's not, the body isn't a machine like that, right? That's not solid mechanics, it's fluid dynamics. And if you take out all of the chassis from your car, and if you take away all your suspension, it's a lot harder on your vehicle, on your drive. Your drive gets a lot harder. And I see more and more that the people who arrive at 40, they've just driven their car into the ground for the sake of fitness and health, but they can't actually live in their body, even though they probably have another 50 or 40 years, but they can't drive the jalopy they created, right? It's so I think that that's kind of the revolution of fascia is not just giving us other ways to take care of our body. We can actually do the work of an osteopath through our motion. We can do the work of a chiropractor through the motion of fascia. However, through our motion to affect fascia. But I think that it's just kind of changing our ideas of what it is to be fit. And that's why I was really attracted to your podcast. I'm like, what you're saying in this boundless, there's limitless opportunities anytime you are, but you have to have the information. You have to be able to be oh, I want to do this. Or what if I just, took a risk and I wasn't doing just what my trainer said, or if I just didn't do what my doctor said.
Yeah.
Well, do it. No. Your body tells you.
I love that. Yeah, Bethany chose the name Boundless, and I was on board the second she told me, because we both have that same feeling of we want to help people create a life that doesn't have those boundaries that we put on each other. And I want to make sure I clarify this because I think I know what you're saying. I don't think you're saying don't go to the gym, don't strength train. That's not what you're saying. You're not
saying that. Good.
Don't do a lat pull if that's what you have access to. You're just saying if you do that, that's fine. But we're way too far on that one end where we're kicking the shit out of ourselves all the time. Mm-hmm. We're moving exclusively in those fixed ways, in certain ways, and we're not doing enough of the kind of free movement that we as humans are designed to do. Is that correct? Is that
I think that's 100% correct. I would say I will give one. That's actually, thank you for making that clarification, because there is a great space for fitness and muscle training, right? It's really important to get strength. What fascia tells you is moderation, and we in America are not known for moderation. We want HIIT. We want 1,000,000 reps. Do you know that every time you repeat an action, it erodes your biomechanics? So if you're doing 600, guess what you're doing? You're just tearing down your body. Make them, we call in GST, we say repetitions should be refinements, where you're actually like making it better, refining it, making it a higher grade rather than low grade. And then you'll be able to actually do 5 of them and your body's like, great, that's enough. I have all the tone, all the strength I need, and then move on, right? Rather than this like, more is better, more is better. Fascia says, baby, less is better, less is better. But the other thing I would say is that I am saying this, that if you're going to do lat pulls, you better know that instead of your lat pulling down, you actually should be pulling the elbow down while the shoulder and chest are lifting up, right? Because that's the lever actually movement. Instead of down in the shoulder, and you want to watch this on the video to be able to see this, but instead of pulling down to get your lat, it's actually you pull up in the shoulder and you have to build your back to the arm to get the lat. So that is something that people need to learn, because what happens is that you go to a trainer or you go to the gym, traditionally, I'm not saying this is everybody, but you are told an exercise to do, and most trainers learn the exercise, but they don't learn the actual biomechanics. I did it in Pilates. Let me say this. Pilates, I learned stomach massage and the plank, and I learned the hundreds, and I learned the saw. I learned it as an exercise. So it looks like this, and the hand should be like this, and then the ribs are doing this. I didn't look and say the digits of your rib cage should be spiraling off your spine, right? Like it's a biomechanic that we learn rather than an exercise. And that's all I wanted to say, is that everybody can benefit from better biomechanics. If you are an athlete playing your instrument, you practice the piano. If you're a musician, you should practice. It's not just working out, burning calories. It's like refine your body mechanics, refine them.
I love that. No, that's fantastic. You know, like the first book we ever get as personal trainers is this is a squat. This is a deadlift. Your feet are like this. Your back is like this. And you start day one is the last day that you know anything about personal training, because it's all downhill from there, because you start to learn that we do move differently. And this is kind of why I like the work of people like Erwin LaCour we've had on the show, Mike Fitch with Animal Moves.
Yes, that's great.
Daryl Williams. All these guys are teaching movement in an environment. Yeah, primal type movement. It's different. It's interesting to think that like this is why tigers don't have 1 million events in the Olympics. Giraffes don't do more than like 4 giraffe things, but humans.
I love that. That's a great analogy.
All kinds of crazy stuff. We could have Winter and Summer Olympics with 1 million events.
Oh my gosh, we've taken Pilates and made it a competition, just so you know. Thank you, America. Like Pilates, a therapeutic, like healing method. Let's compete it. Like CrossFit, let's compete it. We're gonna fucking like make everything so. It's like what?
Yeah, no, that's a great
point. Really
it's like
funny.
Everything's a competition.
Everything's a competition. Yeah. You're like, what if I just want to like feel unbelievable and look great, and less is more. But I think that's a really funny analogy of like, you don't see giraffes running 6,000 miles. And there are bodies that can do amazing things, right? Like Michael Phelps, and there are human bodies that can do that. But some people are driving Hondas and some people are driving Lamborghinis. And so you also want to know, like, what tissue type do you have? What are the liabilities? It's almost like I love this new age of science and medical that's like coming more from like a genetic predisposition, because all of a sudden one size doesn't fit all. And you're like, okay, my body wants to do this, or I need some of this, or I'm going to have this in my diet, or I'm going to, right? And it's more about like, what does my body need? Which is why I'm an advocate of like, I'm kind of a body advocate, where it's like, learn your body. Don't learn an exercise method. Don't learn an exercise. Don't learn a medical prescription. Learn your body. And then anything else becomes like you're playing great music, you're making culinary, great, delicious things that are right for your body rather than going and just buying your keto granola. It's like, I'm not against keto, I'm just saying, right? Like you are feeling what your body wants rather than, this is what I should do now. It's like, well, really.
You mentioned Michael Phelps. That's a really good example. You go to any swim meet in the opening rounds, you might see a lot of different body types. Lots of people can swim. The final round, you're going to see Michael Phelps, all Michael Phelps. They're all going to have the same body. It's the same like the podium of the Tour de France. You're not going to see 20 different body types winning the Tour de France. It's one type. We're all just so different and good at different things. What are some of the other core principles of GST? Have we missed anything that you guys really promote and practice?
I think we work on, that's a really good question. I should probably have like the list of the five. I think one of them is just, it's the only method I know that's applying fluid dynamics to human motion as a biomechanic, as a suitable biomechanic. I think that GST is, is more based upon dynamic opposition versus positioning in the body, right? Form, we are very function-based. And restoring function on all different levels of physiology. I think the other kind of pinnacle or pillar of GST is you kind of become your own practitioner, right? Movement is the medium through which you are applying the principles of osteopathic medicine, the principles of chiropractic for your joints, the principles, and they're very simple. There's 3 things that every body healer uses: lever, applied force to get flow. Acupuncturists even use the lever of a needle to get meridian and cheetah flow. Chiropractors use their arms and your joints with applied pressure to get flow. Osteopaths work on your viscera, right? So all of them are using just 3 things, even massage therapists. You have all 3 things in your body. You have 5 limbs or 5 levers, right? Arms, legs, and a spine. You can direct where that is coming into the body and how it's applying to the tissue. And then with the fascia, you actually provide the impulse, or it's called the fascia flux, the flux to flow, right? So muscles flex and fascia fluxes. It's almost like this little current, and you can control it, and it creates the distribution of all of that thing. So all of a sudden you are an active participant in your health rather than the passive recipient. I got to go to my chiropractor, else my back's going to go out. I got to go to the osteopath because I can't take a poop because I've done too much sit-ups in my life. I can't breathe, and so I have to go have someone rub my back because my neck is all locked up. It's like, well, what if your movement was your medicine, right? We talk about that. Hippocrates said, let food be your medicine. And I'm like, no, let movement be your medicine, really. It is what's going to make physiological motion on every single level, from molecule to cell to tissue to system and to full body.
Yeah, I love that. And there's another component that I don't think we've talked about enough, and I don't want to miss this. You say this on your blog, you said this already in the conversation. Fascia is the organ of consciousness. I think both of those words are fascinating, again, because you wouldn't think of fascia as an organ. First of all, we talked about that. But what do you mean when you say consciousness? What does this have to do, anything with consciousness?
Oh, such a great thing. So fascia, they just confirmed this, and it's actually more than they originally thought. Fascia has 3 times and maybe more receptors in it than any other human tissue. Muscles used to be seen as like the most receptive, packed sensory mechanical receptors in the entire body. So the receptors are all of the cells that are actually taking in information. You have ones that have to prepare for light, chemicals. Mechanoreceptors take information from force, load. You have nociceptors, which are like toxic receptors that tell you if something is not right in a certain area and that it's damaging to tissue. Fascia contains that many, and it's over 1 million nerve endings that venerate into fascia. So above all other tissues, fascia has its ear to the ground, is sensing, listening, creating this conversation with the body, collecting information, and then it sends it up into your brain to this amazing area that's just now being restudied. It's kind of interesting that they're correlative. And I'm not going to be able to, off the top of my head, come up with the name of this. It's a small area, kind of like right behind the frontal lobe, that sits like a lima bean size. And this information comes in, and this is where it's thought that we actually take information to give it the qualitative association. Like, I feel this about chocolate. It's not just the taste, it's not just the smell, it's how we associate it in our consciousness and give things meaning. So fascia then becomes this organ, this tissue that is collecting information even more. It's not just stimulated. What's interesting is that the nervous system takes information from like an XO, kind of almost like a computer, but fascia actually takes all of this colorful, it's like technicolor. It has texture, it has like smell. It takes every sense into the receptors and delivers a richer amount of information into this area of the brain from which you start to build your worldview, your associations, your likes, your dislikes, what feels safe, what feels close, what feels home, and all of these associations. And so that is how fascia starts to implement as your organ of consciousness and gives you this wisdom that if you can tap into and really live embodied, it takes and makes kind of this, you know, I hate slogans, but they're like mind-body connection. It's like, well, actually, it's not a slogan. It's like fascia's really it. It's not metaphorical. It's
not
actual.
Metaphysical. Yeah,
it's not metaphysical. It's not metaphorical, it's actual. And this is what excites me about the other aspect of the work that we get to do in GST and that's available to people who work with fascia in many different disciplines, is that when you get to do that, you can start almost using your body as this secondary source of wisdom and collected information for self-improvement. We used to always have to go into the psyche and like intellectual and analysis, right? Like, go to your therapist and understand and get stuck in your story. But actually the body wisdom that you can collect through fascia doesn't actually have as much locks and structural limitations to understanding. All of a sudden you get this really pure information. You probably experienced it in different therapy sessions where it's like, it's just this cathartic information that allows you to free up and be able to create more freedom without contracting around the mind ideas and our narratives and how we get locked into who we are as people that limit our ability to change. And if we're really going to be boundless, we want to look for fluid thought, fluid information. It doesn't mean that there's no structure. It doesn't mean that there's no parameters or boundary, but it means that there's flux, there's flow instead of rigidity. And if you look at the world today, especially in the US and in the Western world, we need fluid thinking. We need brains that spread and stretch instead of fitting into binary ways of relating to politics. And I mean, it's like, we just have to stretch and move. And fascia gives a completely different meaning to that. That's very applicable, very practical, and that you can just apply to your life.
I love that. Wow. I absolutely love that. That's beautiful. We do pay out a $10 commission every time you say boundless on the show. So we'll be cutting you a check. We appreciate it.
Boundless.
Yes,
I love that idea. I love it.
Well, thank you very much. We love it too. And I love the format of your website. It's really beautiful. Your blog's amazing. I'm selfishly a little bit sad that it hadn't been continued for a while. I stopped ours too. It's a pain to write blogs.
You know what I'm starting to do? You know what I'm going to start to do? I'll tell you a secret. I'm starting to like record some of this. Like when you send me this stuff, it would be great because you could take it and make it a blog on yours, backlink to mine, and you put it into, it's called Otter AI, and you just run it through the Otter AI. It transcribes it almost impeccably. It's been a long time. I've tried to do this before in like 10 years ago, and they just didn't have the artificial intelligence to make it so accurate. But that's how I've started, collecting more, because then I can talk it. I'm a teacher. So I talk it, then I can go in and do a quick edit, and then it's there for other people to have. So just an idea, because I know that they are helpful, and blogs are really fun to read. Who doesn't want to keep reading? Because not everything can be captured in video.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's a really good point. I'll have to look into that. That's fantastic. Yeah. For those people who do want to read, there are wonderful articles that live already on your blog. Even if you don't ever add any more, the ones you have there are very, very good. Like when we were kind of deciding what guest to present this topic with, we really wanted to try to find somebody who's very knowledgeable about this stuff. And clearly from your blog and this explanation, obviously, is you're so good at the depth of all of this, which is fantastic. But you also offer classes. Is that the primary way that people can learn some of these methods, and then again over time maybe become their own practitioner, like you say?
Yes, there's 3 ways, and I'm just going to say them fast. 1, I only teach 1 live class. If people wanted more, I would probably offer more, but right now you can come and take a class with me and try it. I'm happy to gift you guys a class. It's Wednesdays at 10 a.m. my time, 9 in California, and 12 on the East Coast. You can find this all on the website, so you don't have to remember. We also have a virtual online studio, an education place. It's like a movement studio where we have 400 plus videos on this stuff. where I break down like a lot of the science behind it, but also there's just really great workouts to complement like your lifting on your off days. You want to go in and have like some really, functional primal movement stuff. You can go, and it's called GST Vital Life Studio. We'll put that in the thing at the end. And then I do a free daily, it's almost daily. Last couple of days I've been a little bit off. 15-minute, I call it the 5-minute fascia flow on Instagram. So follow on GST Body and you can just receive some free, no strings attached. Look at how, broadly fascia applies. We work on nervous system stuff. We work on, strength and agility training. We work on visceral motility for digestive issues. We work on hyoid bones for, Hashimoto's and autoimmune stuff. So it's very diverse in what you can get, but you can just try it for free following us on Instagram.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. We'll make sure we tag that in the notes. Also on the GST website, you have certain products. Not only have you written a blog about other products that you don't sell, that you can get them from Amazon, they're your favorite products, which I love, by the way, but you guys also make a bunch of products. Can you highlight a few of those and the point of selling those? I tend to believe that, does everybody need them all the time? No, but they can be tools that can accomplish specific things.
Good. Really great point. You're a really gracious host, by the way. Thank you. You're really gracious. Okay, so the first thing is, yes, the equipment is really helpful. Why? Because adults don't have jungle gyms, and we need jungle gyms. And the GST tensegrity wall system is a in-home jungle gym. You can hang off of it, pull off of it. We do tons of traction and compression stretching, and it's things that you can't get elsewhere. And even like, I can usually, like, people ask me to go in and personal train with them and, give them tips on biomechanics and stuff. And I can usually translate, because this is what I wanted to say that you're really good at, is in GST, your primary equipment, your body, period. You don't need fancy equipment. Is fancy equipment really, it's not even that fancy, but is equipment like helpful? Yes. And it gives you things that you can't get from other stuff. So I would say it's an investment, but it's our wall system is just incredible. And it's the most diverse for all types of fascial training. The other one that's really, really good, that's easy to use anywhere, is called the BBK. It's called the Basic Body Kit. It comes with straps and a bar, a weighted bar, and our kind of patented roller. Not patented, that's not true. It's but you won't find it. It's like a wood, kind of looks like a pepper shaker. And that does a lot of restructuring of tissue, which is a little different than foam rolling, just different techniques for like ossified and really hard to get at tissues. And so if you're working on that kind of stuff, the BBK is awesome. It goes in any home door. I take it to the park with me. And you can really take it anywhere. I have friends traveling around the world right now using it. So it packs up real nice and tightly, and you can just take it anywhere. So I would say those two things are really accessible. The only other thing that's great, I try to package things based upon function. If you don't have the ability to get stuff in your house, we have a bag that's called the La Vie Kit, the life bag. And the life bag comes with all of these like kind of standalone products. Like we use weights very differently. We kind of swing them like nunchucks versus like lifting them in a kind of traditional arm toning sense. And so we have that, we have traction towels, we have our insiders. And so I put together kind of a gift basket of things that we use regularly to just take care of fascia, take care of the body.
Well, so I can say, I can say the products that I saw in there. There was even one that like could put like gentle pressure on your neck. It looked
that's so good. The compression. Yep. Next.
It looked like it would be amazing.
Excellent. Try those. Those are, I mean, anything. Like I said, I think it was on my old site, but I was like, I've really tried almost every product out there. And when I couldn't find the one that I needed, I created it for you. I literally went to design it and I'm like, we need this. This is what fashion needs. So it's really a curated list. It's not by far, the only ones that can do anything for fascia, but it's really targeted more than anything else, I think, to fascia and whole body care.
Yeah, definitely. So I can definitely say that the products that you have on the website all look very unique and different and not anything like I've ever seen before. So it's cool that you're able to very thoughtfully think of what our fascia would need and create products around that. We're living in a world, it's 2023. We don't move the same way we used to. Some of us have desk jobs. Like the context is so much different, unfortunately. And it's really screwing us over to not be able to, act like the way we evolved. And so anything we can do to help.
Yeah. I did not mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to say, you said, what are the kind of principles of fascia? And I'm going to condense what you said because it's so wise. And this is maybe where we probably have to finish for today, because I know you're let me just talk. Thank you. I love talking. We can talk about this forever.
You're great.
So the method of fascia is you cannot, okay, do you know what glycogen is?
Yeah.
Okay, so 4 hours of sitting, your tissues start to have this toxic material that's like, it's like a crystallizing of honey. And after 8 hours, it's irreversible. Just so people know, after 8 hours of sitting, glycation is actually irreversible. So we are damaging, and what fascia is telling us is that you cannot go and sit at an office all day and then hope to go to the gym and do good by your body. It's like, I'm just gonna let my car stay parked, and then I'm gonna drive at 160 miles an hour and rev my engine, and I'm gonna kill it. And then that's healthy because it's balanced, right? Right, totally sedentary to totally like frenetic. Death. Now, what they're saying is this: make your life your jungle gym. This is why your body has to be your primary equipment. Make your life your jungle gym. Look for like handicap ramps and hang in traction off of them. Look for parking meters. When you're filling your car with gas, open your window and traction your body. You can do all of these traction exercises that we have on our subscription. Learn them. There's like 5 or 6 of them with variations. And you need to do and flux your fascia every 45 minutes. Every 45 minutes. And it's not 10 minutes of a workout. It's when you're walking out of the toilet stall in the restroom. Before you wash your hands, hang off the sink. Hang off we have them in the girls' bathroom where we have like stalls. Put your hands up on the stall and hang. Do it 30 seconds and walk through, wash your hands and go to your flight, go to your coffee. You just have to start making your body movement. Every 45 minutes, the fascia has to flux. It's like a reflex. Like when you want to breathe, you've been sitting too long and your brain is dead. Fascia does the same thing. It originates from the hypothalamus, the same hippocampus, one of those. And it's like stimulated the same with thirst, the same with hunger. Fascia has this need to flux and move energy through it. Cats do it. You see it all the time when dogs get up. So just that's for people. This is not something that is a new thing to add to your repertoire. Keep your fitness, keep your gym, keep what feels good. Always do what feels good, but make sure that you are microdosing fascia every 45 minutes by making the world around you your jungle gym.
I love that. That is an amazing way to end this conversation. I absolutely love that. And for the people that say, like, you know what, I've got a desk job, I can't do that, I can't move, you can find a way. You can do walking meetings, you can take a call, you can squat in the bathroom. Like, there are things that you can do.
I have an entire series of rolling chair things that you can do at a desk on my subscription.
Awesome.
So anything you want, you can do. Just put your speakerphone on, be on your conference call, and do some rolling stretches through the psoas. Turn your parasympathetic system on, sympathetic off by doing roller chair exercises. Stimulate vagal nerve tone by rotating to get your files out of your cabinet. Your body is with you all the time. Just look for ways that feel good. Now, here's the other thing that it's almost like when you want to go on a diet, you have to force yourself to do a diet. It's like, don't eat my chocolate cake. Fine. Limit this. Well, you're never going to remember fascia if you have to be like, I've got to go to the gym. I've got to work out. This is no. Fascia as a sensory organ is a yummy feeling. And when you start to waken it up, you will actually crave it the way you crave chocolate cake. It is not something that feels like I can't get off the couch to go work out. I can't go run. It's the body being like, if I just do this, I am going to feel so much better. It's like when you're so thirsty and you take water and you just gulp it and it's warm and it's like goes down and you're just like so satisfied. That is how fascia feels. And it will give you that impulse to get up and go eat your fascia cake. And it won't have to be like this hard thing to do if you just get the feeling of what fascia is trying to entice in you.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. It will reward you for doing it. That's amazing.
It will. It's a yummy feeling.
That's amazing. I'm going to go check out those roller chair exercises. Great. And I damn well better see an exercise where you push off and slam the back of your chair against your coworker, Susan, or something in the middle of the day.
Bumper cars. It's really good for our percussion technique to get lymph moving.
Something I can find in the show of work workaholics or something. That's fantastic. Anna, this has been an amazing conversation.
Oh my
I've learned a
gosh.
ton. This is definitely one that people are going to want to go back and listen to 2 or 3 times, I'm sure. We just really appreciate your amazing energy, despite losing us a potential keto granola sponsor at some point, which we're totally fine with. This has been an amazing conversation. Where would you like people to go to find you and connect with you and your work?
Yeah, come to my personal website because it's a great landing pad for all navigation with GST. You'll find it's Anna, ANNA, RAHE, Rahe. If you have to remember it, it's kind of phonetically weird, but it's AnnaRahe.com. And then from there, you can jump off into the GST Body website, which is where we have all of our products. And you can jump off and look at our subscriptions and extending a 10% offer to anybody coming from the podcast. So thank you for having me on. I just want to partner with people, and I want to make it, easy for people to take care of their body and find boundless opportunity.
That's amazing. Another $10. That's great. Is this a link or something we can share in the show notes? Is this a code?
Yeah. Why don't I send you? I think we were trying to discuss this. I think it'll either be a code, or I think I put on a pop-up. And if you just put your email in, it'll send it to you through the website. So I don't think it's that complicated.
Rad. Okay. Either way, we'll make sure it's in the show notes and easy to find for our listeners, because I'm sure they're going to want to go check that out. It's just been an awesome conversation. I think my takeaway from this is, like you said earlier, we're not thinking big enough about this stuff. We're thinking, what can I do right now to get my, beach abs or whatever, and we're not thinking about the longevity and movement and things that are way, way bigger than where we are. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you coming onto our show today. It's been really a wonderful time. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. You are seriously an incredible host and interviewer, and your questions are right on, and you're super generous with how you guided my hope and my message. So thanks for collaborating with me.
Well, thank you very much. We'll send an extra $10 for that. I appreciate it.
All right. I'm turning rich. I love it.
You are. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.